So Eric Johnson, invite open. You want a rematch anytime, any place. Oh, I've made $100 million and won Stanley Cups. Who cares, brother? I took you down in Al McInnes' basement in 2005. Basement champion. Yeah. Did you guys know any like professional athletes growing up, or like?
No.
No, my father knew Pat Croce.
I forget where you're from.
You guys know any celebrities or anything as a child? You know, hang out with them and stuff, befriend them? No,
it's just because we play hockey in the same circles. Dude, Kyle, you talking about having that backup through the yard catastrophe reminded me. I bet probably like 7 years ago I told this on.
By the way, I didn't say a word. You
didn't say a word. You were a good man. You were honorable.
Are they still together? I'm curious. The White Boy?
I believe they are. I certainly hope they are.
Good for them. Good for them.
She was always really nice.
Basically, I think I was probably like 13, 14 or so. And we were coming from the rink. My mom was driving me. And it was me and I think my younger brother and Joel Quenneville's son, who played on a team with my brother. Joel Quenneville at the time was the head coach of the St. Louis Blues. And so big like guy in the hockey community in St. Louis, very like tight. And so like the professionals like Chris Pronger and Al McInnes and Joel Quenneville and all these guys would be down at the rink and their kids would be playing there. And so like we knew them and the Kachucks, and my mom was dropping in this Honda Odyssey. I remember we were dropping him off at Joel Quenneville's house, head coach of the Blues, after a practice, and it was rainy. It was shitty out. It was wet. And he was the coach of a professional hockey team. And so it was a very, very, very nice yard. Very nice house, beautiful yard, and a very long, straight driveway. And my mom pulls up into it and lets him out, and he goes in. He's like, "See you later." You know, like, "Oh, see you next time." And she starts backing out. And I remember like his driveway was big enough. She could have done a little whoop de doop and like come back out straight, but she started backing up, and 100-yard driveway, however long it was. And I think we got it about 8 feet backward before I felt the car go and just in the yard. And my mom just forging ahead, just driving 2 wheels like tilted in this guy's yard. And I'm like, Mom, you're in Joel Quenneville's yard. You're in the coach of the Blues yard. Get back on the driveway. And she's like, "It's fine, Taylor. It's fine." And I'm like, "It's not fine. It's not fine." So
it's not fine.
It's not fine. And so like all the way back, the full length of the driveway, there is just a solid rut, a ditch now of destroyed like yard right next to the driveway. And my mom, like, it just didn't register with her at all how like shitty it was. And so I'm just like, I'm mortified. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to talk to someone else during practice and like deal with this. This is really embarrassing. This guy's a big hullabaloo in the hockey world. And then she just backed out. I looked in horror at like a decimated yard, and then she just drove away. And then I got back, and my dad was there, and like I waited, and my mom went to go do something else, and I was like, "Dad, Mom drove through Joel Quenneville's yard." And he was like, "What?" Like he was like, "What?" And I'm like, "She started backing up, and then she was just in the yard, and then she just went all the way through the yard." And he was like, "Oh my God!" Like I saw that look. I
choose to believe that's what led to the divorce.
I would have went back.
I think it was. like timing doesn't work out, but yeah, my dad was I could see in his eyes and face, because he would golf with like Al McInnes and Joel Quenneville and like these guys, and he was like, "Oh my God." He's like, do they know it was you who dropped them off? Like, yes, they know. He's like, "Oh my God."
They probably were all like watching through the blinds as you did it. Like, "Oh no, she'll stop. She'll oh God.
Blasted.
Honey, isn't that the Kentucky bluegrass you had flown in?"
Oh, maybe my mom was driving like Hamas was hidden under the yard, just blasting through it.
So your father was friends with Quenneville and McInnes and Pronger?
Yeah, like because they like we played hockey at the same club, and so like a lot of these guys played golf together. And like what helped is that my dad is a ridiculously good golfer, like absurdly good. People will be like, "Oh, I'm really good at golf." And then they play with my dad and he blows them out. He plays nonstop all the time. And so these guys, like when people retire from hockey, they start playing golf. And so they wanted someone good to play with them. And so they would invite him to come play. and that was neat. So I got to like hang around the Blues.
Why
at
is
the
it
time.
fun to have somebody good with you?
When they're playing like triples or like a group of 4 or something, it's good to have someone who's really solid on there, I guess. I don't even know enough. Like like in group play where like they're a group competing against other groups. I guess it was good to have one. I remember Matthew and Brady Tkachuk are both in the NHL right now, the sons of Keith Tkachuk. And I remember I met Brady and Matthew Tkachuk. They're both like 7 and 9 years younger than me or something like that. 7 and 8 years younger than me. And the Tkachuks invited us to their box to watch a Blues game when I was probably, 9 or no, I'm sorry, not 9, like 12. And so these kids were like 3, 4. And I remember my dad like giving me a talk like the whole way up there. He was like, you behave. We are with Blues players and we're going to their box and you will behave. And I remember being like, I do behave. Like, I don't know what I'm going to be in trouble for, but like I was on my best behavior. And like every so often I would just like, cause all the adults were talking behind me and I was sitting in those little chairs up a little closer to that mini glass that overlooks the ice. And then I would like get up every so often and go get a Coke because I wanted a soda. And like, that was my big, oh my God, it's a box, as many hot dogs and sodas as I please. And so I was doing that the whole time. And I had to end up getting multiple sodas because I would go get a Coke, I would open it and then like drink some, put it next to me. And then it was either Matthew or Brady Tkachuk, probably Matthew at the time, who was like 4 years old. He came over and he just kept knocking my soda over. Like this little kid, he just kept going, whap. And I remember in my head being like, that's Keith Kachuk's kid, and Dad said to behave. And so I just would like,
you're like, good
pick
hit,
up,
little
yeah, good hit, little guy. And so I just pick up the soda and throw that one away, and then open up another one. And then he'd come over like 10 minutes later and knock my soda over again.
Oh, got another one. 2 points for you.
Matthew. Little did I know he'd be an NHL.
Hey, I'm Taylor,
superstar.
by the way. We should be friends for life.
We should be great friends. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I have a bunch of good like hockey stories knowing those guys. Erik Johnson was the first overall pick by the St. Louis Blues in 2006, I want to say. So I was 15, he was 18, and he was boarding with the McInnes's at Al McInnes's house, and which is pretty common if you're like a young 18-year-old first-round draft pick, first overall especially, that you're going to go to the NHL right away, more likely than not. And so they'll board you with an existing NHL family with people on there so that you can kind of get acclimated. And I knew Al McInnes's son at the time. And so he and I were playing shinny hockey in Al McInnes's basement, which is like a little where those little tiny hockey necks, like yay big, made of plastic. And then those little plastic sticks with the foam ball. And basically you're on your shins, you're on your knees, and it's 1-on-1 and you're trying to play hockey versus it's so much fun. Shinny is great. And me and Al's son were playing, and because I'm a goalie, it gives me a tremendous advantage in this game because second nature, I'm always keeping myself square to the net. Whereas someone who plays forward or defense isn't going to be doing that as much. They're going to leave open scoring opportunities. And so I beat Al McInnes's son, and then I look over and Erik Johnson, first overall draft pick, comes down in the basement. He's like, what are you guys doing? At this time, Al McInnes's son is like 1 year younger than me. I'm 3 years younger than Erik Johnson. And he's like, I want to play. And he's like an 18-year-old first round draft pick in the NHL. And so he's unbelievably competitive, unbelievably competitive. And I won. I beat Erik Johnson. Shout out you, Erik Johnson. Has a good career.
Loser.
Erik Johnson, loser. You're lucky we're giving you this attention.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome, Erik. And so we were playing, and like at first it started off where he wasn't going that hard on me. And then he realized like, oh, this kid's like, and I'm also like a pretty big 15-year-old. And so by the end of the game, he and I are both sweaty. And he's like, when I have possession of the puck, he's like leaning on me like hard, trying to move me. And I'm like trying to bounce it off the wall to get it into the net. And I won. And he got like he kind of got up like with a little bit of a huff. Fuck. Like mad about it. And I remember for a long time, I'm 32 now. And I still remember that and being like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
The king of shinny.
Zero if you wanted.
Yeah, I could have. And by that, doing a little college football math, I should have been the first overall draft pick in the NHL.
I mean, I bet if some of those scouts had seen that Shinny footage, they may have had some other ideas.
They would have. I kicked ass at Shinny. So Eric Johnson, invite open. You want a rematch? Anytime, any place. Oh, I've made $100 million and 1 Stanley Cups. Who cares, brother? I took you down in Al McInnes' basement in 2005. Basement champion. Yeah. Did you guys know any like professional athletes growing up, or like?
No.
No, my father knew Pat Croce.
I forget where you're from.
You guys know any celebrities or anything as a child? You know, hang out with them and stuff, befriend them? No,
it's just because we play hockey in the same circles.
Every morning, my father ran on the boardwalk in Ocean City, New Jersey. It's nice. It's a little springy. It's better on your knees. Anyone who lives at the beach runs on the boardwalk. It's the better place to run. And I guess he got to knowing Pat Croce, who owned the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, nice.
And he was like an outrageously positive, super guy. Hank Scorpio from the Simpsons. Yeah, he was said to be modeled on Pat Croce. I don't know if it's true.
Then I like it. Yeah.
And
hey, if you could toss a grenade at someone on the way out, I'd really appreciate it. Like,
I guess Pat just took a liking to my dad. They ran at about the right pace. He's like, you run pretty good for a big guy. And so when they saw each other, they would run side by side on the boardwalk. That's the closest I got. I can't hang with Taylor stories.
Cool. It's better than I've got. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I knew. Nah, definitely not.
Greg Maddux wasn't a friend of the fam.
No, he was not a friend of the fam.
He's the only Braves player I always remember because you mentioned him as the
Hall of Famer,
the great white whale that didn't win a championship.